Their motivation was still running from what they feared rather than living for what they loved. These egos were intended to be the candidates, the trainees, who in a healthy state would not yet be permitted human incarnations. But the first human conceptions that were not wholly loving opened the door for them to enter human form, and of course once that door was open, other still fearful identities poured through. Any quality that is part of the parent's motivation as they conceive becomes part of the child's subsequent nature. The child can always change that later, but this is where its first nature comes from. This is the origin of the first man who is earthy, that the Apostle Paul said must become transformed into the second man from heaven. This also is the origin of the historical world. While we, your spirits, have come from the heaven of the Creator's consciousness, your egos were conceived by our presence in specific regions of the earth. They were born in the ocean swallows of bays, now long forgotten, raised on the warm deltas of rivers that would remain yet unnamed for hundreds of thousands of years. They huddled in the caves of the Pyrenees, multiplied on the steppes of Russia, captured fire in the mountains of China, and cultivated the once lush fields of the Sahara. They are the descendants and remnants of those egos who did not understand the original instructions. But for all their blindness, they are creatures of intelligence, creatures whose mind-brain circuitry has been designed with the capacity to accommodate universal awareness. Even in the darkest hour of the human drama, we knew that it was only a matter of time. Eventually, the age would dawn when they would remember us and invite us back into their lives. Next chapter, Beyond Belief Systems. Human history has been a partial and incomplete description of the universe, a humanly described fiction based on the observation of those without perception of the finer, stabler energy frequencies, where the perfect designs of the spirit world are evident. The level of perception that human history has denied is the level upon which we of the bird tribes live. It is the level of perception from which we create. It is the frequency level that is your true home, the heaven, where simultaneous awareness of your universality and your individuality occurs easily and naturally. Egos alone, without consciousness of their spirits, are far more limited in their perception than those who merely have no physical sight. Historical egos believe only in themselves and in other egos. They create a world wherein ego values are all that they consider real. There is nothing wrong with ego values, but they are only one side of the universe. The other side of the universe awaits human discovery and recognition. To 20th century humans, this amounts to nothing less than the discovery of a whole new world. This discovery will transform the face of human experience far more thoroughly than any geographical or technical discovery has ever done in the past. Historical human egos know they are unfulfilled. They are longing everywhere for that which they lack. Those of you who remain locked into exclusive identity with them put out little grappling hooks in search of your missing pieces. But you continue to grapple at the wrong things. You grapple externally in the three-dimensional world, looking for fulfillment outside of yourself. But it is only the Spirit of God that can bring fulfillment to an ego, and the Spirit of God is experienced not outside yourself, but within. When you experience God's presence within, you perceive the kingdom of heaven without. The intelligence that the earth loves and craves is present again in your own first-hand experience. You receive internal media far superior to anything external, the channel where forever flow the thoughts of God, and because you hear them, they can flow out from you and be shared with others. As you open to it, Moment by eternal moment, a new intelligence like a whirlwind swirls up your illusions and restructures your perception. You no longer experience yourself at the mercy of the world around you. The world becomes your paint and canvas. You know yourself to be an artist, capable of recreating all you survey. There is something more exciting happening here on this earth than any interpretation that ever could be conveyed externally through the medium of an individual human. The reality that we inhabit is a shared field of collective perception that individuals can exist within, but can never possess. There are many perspectives from which to view reality in this new world. Each individual describes and perceives from different points along the circumference of the great medicine wheel of eternal being, but each one does so within the context of certain basic recognitions. Chief among these recognitions is that all creatures inhabit and live within a single field of shared consciousness, that all are projections of a single being, and that all of us, angels, human, animals, vegetables, microbes, and minerals, are differentiated aspects of one conscious and coherent whole. This recognition is the cornerstone of the new sacred reality, the foundation of the kingdom of heaven. The second recognition follows from the first. The parts of this single being, when they are healthy, do not compete, but fit together to support one another like the cells and organs of a healthy body. The rich variety of their perspectives, when expressed simply and naturally, complement one another as parts of a whole. Every angel, every human, every creature, every plant, every microbe within the reality that we recognize knows that, since they each come from a single being, if they are healthy, they are in harmony with everything else in that being. Herein lies the source of security. This is the peace that surpasses all understanding, the inner peace of which your mystics speak, the peace of mind and heart that all true men and women of God have discovered and known. It comes from remaining true to one's own spiritual nature and thereby remaining in creative harmony with every other healthy part of the universal whole. There have been examples of this awareness even in your warrior societies, but in a fearful culture, one who is in harmony with God is not necessarily in harmony with the surrounding society. Often the presence of an awakened one puts pressure on the surrounding disharmonies, bringing them to the surface, flushing them out like a cold will flush out toxins a body may need to remove. Eventually, this presence brings peace, but not necessarily at first. This is why Jesus said, "Yes, I come to bring peace, but first I bring the great sword of truth that will bring illusion to the surface where it can be recognized and severed from that which is real." Before the peace comes to the human world, unhealthy elements have to depart, yet this does not imply apocalyptic scenarios. Nothing physical has to depart, not one single creature has to depart. Nothing has to depart but ideas that have distorted the human tribes of the earth and twisted them into societies of greed, dishonesty, and violence. We are here now, in human consciousness, removing these false ideas. Many of them have already been removed. Before this purification cycle is over, the very last of them will depart. In cases where people identify with illusion and fail to make the distinction between themselves and what is being removed, by their own choice they choose to depart during these times along with the illusions they have created.